Hi, welcome to our project. We're Research Flow. We built an app to help one of the research groups here at the U with their note-taking and streamlining and all of that. I'm David. I worked on a whole bunch of like the UI and front end and also the notifications that our app does.
Hi, I'm Blake. Also worked on the front end as well as some back end technologies.
I'm August. I did most of the interaction with the Git API as well as made sure that the app still works when somebody is offline.
Hi, I'm Megan. I worked on the controller code between the front end and the back end. I worked on data visualization, and I also work for the research lab that we helped with. So now we're gonna take you into the lab and show you around and give you a demo. Hi, welcome to the LAIR Lab. So LAIR stands for Land Air Interactions Research. We are a research group here at the University of Utah, and we study mainly air quality and greenhouse gases. So we are currently here in the lab on campus, but we also have field locations all throughout northern Utah. We have about 8 locations with instrumentation and equipment installed at all of these locations. With all these moving parts, we have a lot of notes and inventory information that we use to keep track of everything, and all of those notes are stored on GitHub. But the main problem is that they're stored across multiple different files, and a lot of our sites, it's not easy to actually access either the internet or even just pull up a laptop while we're at our field location. And so what researchers have to do is write down all of the notes by hand while they're out in the field, and then update notes when they're back on campus or in front of a computer. And this is time consuming and tedious, and it kind of requires doing work multiple times. So with our project, we are solving that problem by making a mobile app that will help streamline this process, will allow research personnel to be able to update their notes and view their notes while they are actually out at the field location. And then they can update multiple repositories at one time with one submission, so that they don't have to go through and update a bunch of them individually, and this will save a lot of time. And with that, we'll move on to our demo and show you exactly how this app will work. All right, now we're going to go through our demo of how we use the app, say if we're at a field location or even here in the lab. So since all of our notes are in GitHub, we have our authorization for the app through GitHub, so we're just going to log in with our GitHub credentials. It's going to prepare offline mode. So the great thing about this app is that it will also be able to be used offline, since some of our locations are outside of cell service. You can still use this app even when you're out in those remote locations. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our add notes. So that's kind of our main functionality here. We're going to select our site, which currently we're at WVE. And we're going to say we swap this instrument. So I'm going to say we change it to 13022. That's just the other serial number that we're changing it to. I'm adding my name as the researcher who was here today. Let's say I started about an hour ago, so I'm going to put that 12 o'clock, we'll confirm. And we're going to add this to the bad data. So bad data is our repository that lets us flag any data that shouldn't be part of our final calibrated data. And we're going to add this to bad data because we swapped an instrument, so I'm going to put that as my reason for changing swapped instrument. And then we'll move on to our tanks. So all of our field locations have gas cylinders that we use for calibration purposes. This site specifically does not have a couple of tanks that are listed here, the N2 or the LTS. That is because some of our sites have them, some of them don't. That's why here in the app it says if needed. So we're going to ignore those ones for now, and we're just going to go ahead, and you can see that tanks are auto-filled here already. So we already have J57 installed, and all we need to do is add what the pressure is right now, which is 1200. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. M25 is our mid, also installed, and that one is at 1500. Type that in, and say we're going to swap out a tank. So we're going to swap out this high tank here, and we're going to change this one to 14. And we have this nice search where you can just search for the tank. It autofills the certain carbon dioxide and methane concentrations that it is calibrated to, and then we'll add in our pressure and say it's a new tank, so it's at 2200. And then we'll just add some general notes. So say we changed an instrument and swapped a tank, and then that's all we need to do. And then we can just hit submit, and it's going to give us a pop-up that says some of the fields are missing, and that is okay because we didn't input the N2 and the LTS because we don't need to. So we're just gonna hit submit anyways. And then it's going to be updating 4 different repositories. So it's updating our bad data, as I mentioned before. It's updating instrument maintenance for the 2 instruments that we changed, so removed and installed. It's updating the tank tracker, which is keeping track of all of the locations of our tanks. And it's updating the actual site notes for this site visit. So we get a pop-up that says all the files were updated successfully. And then we can go through and we can actually check to see everything that is actually updated. So we can go and view our notes from WBB, and here we go, we have our note that says that we changed our instrument, swapped our tank, and then we can go to instrument maintenance, and we can go into the instrument that we installed, and there's a nice message that says installed a WBB, and we can also check the one that we removed, and that is 1507, and it says it was removed from WBB. So that all of those are being updated automatically based on that one submission, which beforehand LAIR group members had to go through and update all of these different files individually. It would take a lot of time, sometimes 30 minutes to an hour after every field visit to do this, and now it's a lot easier, as you can see in the few minutes that it took us just to fill this out. And finally, let's check this last tank, 14. We can go into our tank tracker, and we have our updated entry for that tank. It is at WBB with a pressure of 2200. And that is just some of the functionality of our app that will make updating these notes a lot easier for LAIR group members, and will save them a lot of time and allow them to spend more time on research. Now I will briefly go over our software architecture. It's simple by design because we want this app to be used by the LAIR group after this capstone experience, and we don't want them to have to worry about hosting databases or dealing with AWS servers or anything like that. So ours is simple. We have a front end with React Native. We did this so that it would work for both iOS and Android because members of the LAIR group don't necessarily have a specific type of phone, so we want to make sure everyone can use it. We are using GitHub for our database, and that is because we don't want to have to host our own internal database, but we also don't want to make the LAIR group have to migrate their database and notes and everything over to our own internal database. And this way it makes everything seamless. Users of the lab can still use GitHub as they normally would if they would like. This is just an extra tool to help simplify things for them. And then we also have controller code that issues API calls to GitHub, parses information, autofills information for the front end for the user, and then parses any user input to push back to GitHub in the appropriate format. And then we are also utilizing the phone's file systems for our offline mode. So when the user is out of service, they can save notes locally to their phone and push those notes to GitHub once they are back in service. And in conclusion, we just want to state that we really utilized a user-driven development process for this project. We were designing this app, again, specifically for the LAIR group, and we got a lot of input from many of the members of the LAIR group on what exactly they wanted, and we were able to really take a lot of their feedback and form it into something that's going to be very useful for them. We've gotten a lot of really positive feedback about how useful they think this project or this app is going to be for their work and will really simplify things for them. And we're really proud to be able to provide something that will be used past this capstone experience and that the members of the group are very excited for. And with that, we want to thank everyone for watching this video, and specifically want to acknowledge the LAIR group and all of the members who participated in user studies and gave us great feedback and really helped us deliver this great product. Thank you.